Good morning, Professor Reese and fellow classmates. Today we are going to explore the ethical considerations of side-door university admissions. I am Wayne, and I'm going to talk about the overview of Operation Varsity Blues and the three doors. Anissa is going to talk about the rise of ethical dilemma, the overview of moral agents, and William Rick Singer. Natalie is going to talk about parents, coaches, moderators, and proctors. Amanda is going to talk about university and students. Belinda's going to talk about media outlets and practitioners, conclusion and group reflection, and the discussion question. In March of 2019, 50 individuals were indicated for violating three federal laws: mail fraud, bribery, and racketeering in a nationwide college admission scandal better known as Operation Varsity Blues, led by William Rick Singer. Kotursky and Hutchison, 2019, said that the $25 million scandal was allegedly uncovered by accident when FBI agents were working on an unrelated security fraud case. This has been the largest ever prosecution according to McDonald's 2019. According to Hegstrom 2019, amongst those indicated were celebrities, wealthy bankers, and chief executives who drew in much of the public eye. University admission systems has three doors: front door, back door, and side door. The front door is a legal admissions based on merit. Smith 2019 explains that university students required to submit their SATs or ACT scores as part of the application. Students that show exceptional athleticism are also highly scouted as such. Recruitment through athletic abilities is often highly sought after. The back door is another legal way where families actually donate money to have a higher chance of admission. And finally, the side door. The side door is a legal way of admission through bribery and deceit, which led to Operation Varsity Blues. Now I'm going to pass my time to Anissa.
Thank you, Wayne. So now let's move on to the rise of the ethical dilemma that exists in this situation. But first, we have to acknowledge the existence of a standardized admission process in the US, as explained by Wayne earlier, and also cited by Smith in 2019. Now, Operation Varsity Blues was met with unqualified students with wealthy parents who simply had the resources to go above and beyond in order to get their child into prestigious universities. This was when they approached Rick Singer, who offered them a quick fix side door option, as cited in Junior 2019. As such, the illegal actions performed in this scandal certainly questioned the impartiality of college admissions and started a conversation about the ethicality of side door admittance. Next slide, please. Now this leads to our thesis, which states how Ivy League universities have been susceptible to alternative means of admission by powerful and wealthy individuals for personal gains. Next slide, please. Operation Varsity Blues was made possible by the collective efforts and involvement of multiple parties. The 6 moral agents we'll be analyzing today includes Rick Singer, the parents, coaches and test moderators, universities, students, as well as the media practitioners that covered the case. First up is Rick Singer himself. So now let me give you a brief background on who Rick Singer is to let you have a better understanding on the key role that he played in OVB. So Singer was actually the owner of the Edge College and Career Network, which was a life coaching and college counseling company where he was able to own his skills and expertise in the field of college admissions. He also set up the Key Worldwide Foundation, which was essentially a charity created to assist underprivileged children in college applications. However, investigations soon revealed that the charity was nothing more than a mere facade to kind of cover up the exorbitant amounts of bribery payments from his many clients, as cited in McLaughlin and Shamsian 2020. These payments funded the illegal side door services that he was enabling, which included bribing college coaches as well as the test administrators, as well as creating falsified profiles of students, as cited in Kotursky and Hutchinson 2019. Next slide, please. So now moving on, let's now examine the actions of Singer using the deontological ethics. As cited in Baron, Chow, and Miao in 2014, the theory of moral disengagement supports the deontological viewpoint that suggests how Singer's motivation for self-realization as an entrepreneur has led to the deactivation of self-regulating processes of moral standards and the promotion of unethical behavior. They also explain that the entrepreneurs that are highly driven by the innate desire to grow are less likely to engage in unethical acts as it hinders the facilitation of self-improvement. However, we can see that the actions conducted by Singer were not for the self-betterment, but instead for more materialistic gains. His facilitation of side door admissions heavily disrupted the fair system of education altogether and was unjustifiable as it was enacted purely out of his own motivations for personal greed and the need for power. So now I'll pass it on to Natalie, who will talk about the next moral agent.
Thank you, Anissa. So the second moral agent I will be elaborating on are the parents involved in Operation Varsity Blues. So to best describe these parents, one just have to think of three simple words: wealthy, influential, and powerful. The people in this group were a catalog of wealth and privilege, including CEOs of top-tiered companies, as well as celebrities, among others. The spotlight fell on actress Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin, who represented two major aspects of the scandal. Huffman allegedly paid the key $15,000 in order to bribe a proctor to help falsify her daughter's SAT scores. On the other hand, Loughlin and her husband were also accused of paying Singer $500,000 to have both their daughters enrolled into the University of Southern California as role recruits, despite lacking basic admission qualifications. Now, parents in the US are not the only ones highly concerned about getting their children into these prestigious schools. From a local context, an article written by Lim in 2019 for Today Online, local billionaire Zhao Tao also added to Singer's wealth by paying a grand sum of US $6.5 million to get his daughter into Stanford University. Many of you may be wondering why these parents had to go to such lengths just to ensure that their children secure a spot in the schools. After all, they were already extremely wealthy. From a teleological perspective, side door admissions are deemed as ethical as it is a normality amongst their social groups. It is seen as just another way to expand their influence and maintain their family's social status. Monaghan in 2010 described schools as stepping stones that will provide invaluable opportunities and a great career jumpstart. According to Ellerit, Burton, and Cullen in 2000, the differential association theory further supports this and states that individuals learn behavior and values through exposure and interactions with their intimate groups. As such, even if these wealthy families desire to go against the normalities of side door admissions, external social factors and pressures such as status and face value may still persist. Moreover, with an abundance in assets, freedom, and independence, the rich are armed with a myriad of resources to deal with potential consequences stemming from any ill decision made, causing them to indulge in such practices nonetheless. However, the deontological perspective does not justify the parents' actions, and it deemed the use of the side door an underhanded deed. According to Trujillo, Suarez, Lemma, and Londono in 2015, the system of ethics of accountability states that parents should impart the best moral values and beliefs to their children. But by resorting to such clandestine measures, parents are essentially passing on an unhealthy, expressive independence culture, and the immoral standpoint would then be trickled down to future generations, and according to Manstein in 2018, create institutional barriers to upward social mobility. Moving on, the next group of moral agents includes athletic coaches, test moderators, and proctors. With heavy emphasis placed on athleticism, some educational institutions acknowledge that a plug from a coach or athletic official can be beneficial for those whose academic achievements might not suffice to ensure admission into the school, as these could act as personal and trustworthy referrals. Of those indicted, Smith 2019 also found that 9 coaches, 2 test administrators, and 1 exam proctor guilty of accepting bribes, altering test scores, and taking in unqualified students as members. From a teleological standpoint, ethical egoism justifies the act of bribery as it denotes that it is ethical for individuals to promote self-interest and personal welfare, according to Chong 1992. It could be argued that the decisions made by the moral agents here are not of malicious intent, but simply in the interest of the self. According to Piff, Stancato, Mendoza, Denton, and Keltner in 2012, the wealthy inhibit higher power and agency in decision-making, rendering these coaches, proctors, and test moderators powerless, as well as dependent on their resources for survival. Additionally, the influence of economics education from wealthy families may promote self-interest maximization, which induces the belief that greed is both positive and beneficial. This may subsequently cause them to be blindsided and find themselves on the slippery slope, which, according to Barron, Zhao, and Miao in 2014, explains that individuals are less likely to notice unethical behaviors when implications are salient. On the other hand, deontological perspectives stand by the fact that the crime committed by these moral agents are unethical as they broke their professional code of conduct to gain selfishly. We all learned about the rights theory in class. As cited by Coop in 2009, he describes this theory as one that focuses on rights, obviously, and states that the fundamental moral truths are propositions about the rights one has. In this case, there was an evident breach in contractual rights as the coaches, moderators, and proctors did not uphold their professional duties and obligations they had agreed upon with the universities before they officially became part of their faculty. Moving on, Amanda will be elaborating on the other moral agents as part of this case.
Thank you, Natalie. I will now share about our fourth moral agent, the Ivy League universities. So according to Smith, 2019, 8 universities were involved in side door admissions, which included Yale, Stanford, and UCS. Due to this scandalous act, the education system was further criticized by the public and also deemed as flawed, as academic achievements could be easily bought. This is supported by Downs, 2017. Although the universities as an institution were actually unaware of what was going on and never approved of the unethical acts in the first place, their reputation was still suffered and they had to bear its consequences. Therefore, the implications of the universities as a moral agent here is evaluated by how they responded to Operation Varsity Blues. Here, Downs also suggested there are 4 solutions in maintaining reputation through proactive, reactive, and organic solutions, as well as the use of insurance. However, in this research, we will only be focusing on proactive and reactive solutions. Next slide, please. Proactive solutions are enforced through restructuring the admissions process. This means that tighter administration was regulated and there were stricter inspections of individuals in the admissions board. The strategy universities used here is supported by rights theory, as what Natalie has shared earlier on. Rights theory explains that rights established by a society are protected and given the highest priority. Furthermore, universities are subjected to contractual rights under institutional governance. This means that the universities have the moral duty to comply with the governmental authority for standards and procedures. Therefore, the actions taken in restructuring the admission system is seen as ethical, as it is done out of goodwill and intention. The second solution Downs suggests here are reactive solutions. Through reactive solutions, actions were taken against the guilty stakeholders, such as the coaches and moderators. These coaches and moderators were either placed on leave or fired. Based on virtue ethics, which focuses on one's character over moral behavior, universities had to weigh the balance of the principles of virtue and vices. This means that even if they wanted to keep the coaches or moderators due to their valuable skills or long-standing established relationships, they were unable to, as they were being pushed into a corner to make a decision based on the best interest of public welfare. No second chances were given to the coaches and moderators, as the universities had no choice but to carefully consider their actions, knowing that it would reflect their character and reputation. Therefore, their actions were seen as ethical as they adhered to the moral standards of what is deemed as good and right. The next moral agent I'll be covering are the students implicated in the scandal. Amongst the many cases, most students were unaware of their parents' involvement to engage in fraud and corruption. However, those who were aware chose to keep mum and turn a blind eye, and this makes them equally liable for their actions. From a teleological point of view, the actions of the students could be justified through social learning theory and indirect blindness. Trujillo, Suarez, Lima, and Londono explains that individuals learn behavior and the desirability of actions through observation and influences from social and environmental factors. This implies that wealthy students are socialized into such practices through their social environment growing up. They are simply modeling the way of their parents, and if wealthy parents are able to justify that such acts are ethical, the children will naturally think that these acts are ethical as well. Indirect blindness also strongly supports social learning behavior. Palazzo, Krings, and Hofrich explains that indirect blindness is the inability to see actions that indirectly harm others as unethical or wrong. However, this places emphasis on the duty of parents in bringing up their children and might actually put children from wealthy families at a spot. Sometimes these children can come across as pitiful or even victims, and it can be difficult to place direct blame on them due to their innocence, and thus can be seen as an ethical act. However, the deontological viewpoint opposes this to merit-based justice. Merit-based justice is explained as merit that is awarded through performance according to Hermanowitz 2019. This means that all students should be given equal opportunity to enter Ivy League universities based on their grades and not through status or wealth. As mentioned previously, even though wealthy students may be seen as victims through indirect blindness, the real victims here are actually the hardworking ones, the hardworking students who deserve a spot by being displaced because of these wealthy students. Also, because we are viewing this from a deontological point of view, no benefit of doubt is given to the wealthy students. Instead, we must assume that they are matured enough to know what is right and wrong, and are also able to take responsibilities of their own actions. The scandalous acts also implicates the welfare of society, as industries are now at risk of receiving a pool of fake graduates. It can be difficult for companies now to properly evaluate if a resume is credible or not because of all these fake graduates. Therefore, when these wealthy students condone to side door admissions, they are creating an ongoing cycle of fake admissions and fake graduates. And this not only impacts their personal future careers, but also the careers of hardworking students who actually deserve a spot and a good job. Thus, this is seen as an extremely selfish and self-centered act based on bad intentions. The malicious intentions of these wealthy students wanting to take a hold of the admission spots is thus justified as unethical. Now, Belinda will take us through the next moral agent.
Thank you, Amanda. So the last moral agent on our list is the media and its practitioners. Operation Varsity Blue gained the attention of millions worldwide due to the scale of the scandal. And if you were to actually compare this to another case of corruption and bribery, you could actually say that it is disproportionate in the way that it was reported, and it can be compared to a tabloid news. This actually sparked a huge conversation which led to many people taking interest in social media to criticize the two celebrity perpetrators that were identified, Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin. Social media users also actually took to platforms like Twitter to criticize Loughlin and how she has tainted the image of the wholesome Hallmark channel that she was largely associated with at that point. Next. From a teleological perspective, we can say that the media has violated the privacy of the perpetrators and, more importantly, the identities of their children as they carry the names of their parents that have already been tainted by their wrongdoings. Here, we can argue that the media has failed to detach itself from possible hidden agendas, which, according to Hujanan in 2018, the hidden agendas can be in the form of personal, political, or economic agendas, which can also be in line with how these news stories can increase viewership for their company's financial gains. From a deontological perspective, we can say that the media has the intention and moral duty to highlight the gravity of corruption and fraud that was happening within the country's wealthiest demographic, and also bringing awareness to the importance of this issue. This can be supported by Fisher in 2017, in which he said that the notion of ethical journalism included the accuracy in reporting and how it is deemed as fair play. And as such, we can also say that the media is not wrong in disclosing the individuals who were actually involved in the scandal, because it is the duty to provide accurate information for the interest of the public. In closing, Operation Varsity Blue actually brought the world to the attention of an underlying million-dollar scandal of the side-door university admissions, and more in particularly, the welfare demographic of the United States. It also highlights the power of wealth and what money can buy, which in this case will be education. It also showcases how materialized education has diluted the core values of academic learning and growth, as well as pointing out the issues of how the moral agents that were involved in the scandal went against the values of academic integrity that the academic institutions were actually required to adhere to. And therefore, this actually obviously indicates the need for a paradigm shift with clear ethical standards to ensure a fair playing field with strong moral values and equal learning opportunities, as well as admission opportunities for everyone. Next. So my group actually agrees that the parents in this scandal are the main protagonists because side door admissions would not have existed in the first place if it wasn't for the demand by the parents. So although it comes from a point of view that comes from a parental love, as parents, I think we can all agree that they help to a system of ethics, of accountability that stresses their role in instilling the best moral values in their children. This also leads us to the question of rightful grant of credentials to individuals, or more in particularly in this case, students, and basing on the actions of parents in their method of obtaining a degree because of the extrinsic motivational factors, such as the loafing and career motivation, which also means taking the easiest route without the need for hard work, and the need to attain success and excellence respectively, as cited by Skatova and Ferguson in 2014. This is also comparable to another person where they are coming to obtain a degree due to intrinsic motivation that defines the genuine enjoyment and engagement in meaningful cognitive discourse, which can also be described as the ideal scenario in our case. Now, we have a question for all of you. If you found that your parents had conspired with others to gain admission into a prestigious university through unethical means, what would you choose to do? Let us know, and thank you so much for listening to our presentation.